In the hours and days after Katrina overwhelmed the Gulf Coast, a major city, and a levee system, we got a view from the ground floor up, a view that remains with each of us, even without these pictures.
Doug Warner went along with a group of volunteers who say not enough is being done. And
as we race toward New Orleans,
hopefully I can make it with that and not get shot.
We were running into stories of desperation on the way out.
Trying to get back to where I've already heard that there's looters in Slidell in my neighborhood.
Food, water, and shotgun shells. It was a race against time for these New Orleans area residents who drove 5 hours north to Shreveport for supplies. Once we made it into Baton Rouge on the LSU campus, we found a makeshift triage just outside Tiger Stadium. The injured were being flown in from all across the New Orleans area.
It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
And this is where I found Jack Morrison, standing in the left lane of traffic in front of 10 school buses loaded with evacuees.
It's just a real mess. A lot of us been up on about 4 hours sleep in 48 hours.
However, with shelters here full, there was no room for the healthy, including these school buses loaded with evacuees. Getting into New Orleans was near impossible. We teamed up with around 24 others with boats who drove over from Lake Charles, 4 hours away. We literally rowed those John boats across the Mississippi into St. Bernard Parish.
I have made more life and death decisions in one day than in the 22 years I have been sheriff here.
Guns there stayed drawn as law enforcement raced back into neighborhoods to save who they could. Neighborhoods loaded with gunmen.
We've got a portion of our parish. We're assembling a SWAT team right now to recover from some criminals that stayed in there. We're in a state of martial law.
But with help of an NOPD officer with no communication with his own department, we were finally led into the city. We had the interstate to ourselves.
The thumping sounds of helicopter blades have filled the Louisiana skies all week. From our vantage point atop Interstate 10 next to the New Orleans Superdome, transport and rescue choppers crisscross past high-rises. One even plucked a survivor from a rooftop right before our eyes.
Finally, for these volunteer rescuers, the time had come to help who they could. Anyone left behind, as you can see from this excerpt from 10 years ago this week.
Our boat launch, where Interstate 10 simply disappears. Our direction of travel, the South Carrollton Avenue exit. Within minutes of entering the neighborhood, trouble.
Who's on the roof over there? People with guns and stuff.
Police?
No, they're not police.
You saw them?
Yeah.
Fortunately, help was usually hovering close by. From the air, a friendly wave calmed the nerves, but only for a while. In the short 20 minutes that we've been on the water so far, we've already seen 3 people, or I should say 3 bodies floating in the water.
Even 10 years later, I still remember the unique sound of the military choppers keeping watch from above, and these rooftop holes of hope, the hope that they were all rescued.
You doing all right? How have you made it out here the last 5-6 days?
And a man named Anthony, who refused to leave, who explained to us all you need to survive the worst hurricane in U.S. history
I sleep in a hammock.
is his hammock and a boat.